I want to welcome everyone to our August school board meeting. At this time, I've asked Pastor John Belanger if he would open us in a word of prayer and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father, we just thank you tonight for this time together, and thank you for the leaders and the parents, students that we get to serve. And I just pray that you just be with us tonight, that you give us wisdom, and that you show us decisions that need to be made. I know that these are all decisions that are higher than our pay grade. And Father, we just pray that you would just come and that you would just be with us and help us through this season in general, not just the decisions, but God, as the students are back at home and wondering and pondering what could happen, Father, we just pray that you give them peace, God, and let them know that that you're in control and that you're going to see them through this. And we put all of this in your hands tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. First item on our agenda, the next item on our agenda is the consent items, consisting of the agenda, the minutes of the July 14th and July 29th meetings, a fundraiser by National Beta Club, a fundraiser by Student Council, and a second fundraiser by Student Council, and a rental of facility
We do have a,
by Pop Warner.
there you go, by Pop Warner. We just received very late tonight a change of the date. Instead of the 22nd, it is the 29th. The powers that be above Pop Warner changed the game to the 29th. That still should not conflict with our schedule, but I wanted the board to know it's for the 29th of August.
So what are they recognizing?
Say again.
What's the time from?
This is for
Everything else stays the same. It just goes from the Saturday 22nd to Saturday 29th. Have a motion by Mr. Madison to accept the consent items. Have a second by Mr. Heitman. All in favor? Unanimous. Public participation. We have 4 people that signed up. We have one that said he's going to speak at a specific item. So we're going to start with Ms. Kay Leroy. And just a reminder that it's a 3-minute time limit.
Mr. Chairman, Superintendent, board members, I just want to say I appreciate what y'all are doing, and I appreciate the staff members that have reached out to me and answered some of the questions I've had. And some of the parents have asked me if I know anything, which I don't, because I'm one of those that, kind of let the board do what they were going to do and sat back and watched like we all did as parents. I trust the teachers, I trust the principals, I have no issues there on a regular basis. I've had a child living in my house, whether grandchild, child, whatever, going to these schools for 35 years, 36 years. Straight, never a break. So I put my trust in this school for 36 years with one of my kids. Right now, this year is totally off the book. The teachers are being asked to do extraordinary things. They're not only teaching, they want nurses, they have to be monitors, they have to be babysitters, they have to gather the children in dolphin pods so they can see who's with who's going here, who's going there. And this year of all years, usually parents are like I am, and we just assume the board's taking our tax money, they're doing what they do, we send our kids, and we trust that 8 hours, 7 hours. This year is different. This year the board has got to understand that more than ever, this is a 3-part partnership between parents, the board, and the teachers. We can't just sit back like we've been doing, and a lot of them still are, and letting the board say, okay, we're going to do this, and then putting it on the teachers, and we send our kids to school, and the teachers are gonna do that. It's not gonna work that way this year. Because there's 800 in quarantine in one school, in one city, because school started back. Schools are shutting down, at least 4, have just had to close. There's just too many. And if the parents aren't included and ask their input, and ask what they're capable of doing, and ask how much trust are we gonna put into you board members to medically watch our children, which is not the teacher's job. It's not your job. That's our job. But unless we bring more parents in and ask, not a select group of parents, not the group that you play golf with, the group you go to church with, the group that you see on the street. Everybody, every parent, every child, all the teachers, the administrators, everybody needs to have some kind of a way of being heard, because if we don't work together, and I don't mean fighting in the sandbox work together, I mean working for our kids. That's what y'all are supposed to be doing. That's what I know the teachers and administration are doing. That's what all of us parents are doing. But all of our children are different. All of our parenting ways are different. Just like teachers don't all teach the same way. We don't parent the same way. So you're asking us to trust you with our money, which we do. You're asking us to trust the teachers with our children, which we do. But this year is unique. And this year I have not seen the questions. I saw the question of, would you send your kid to school or would you do online? That's it. There's no other input in, what would you suggest? Do you have a suggestion? What are your major concerns with the child going to school? What are your concerns on keeping your child home? I don't feel like you're letting us be partners this year like we should be. And that's the most important thing I can say to you as a board, that you were elected by the public. Our teachers are hired by the public. It's a public school system. But the parents have somehow been left out of any kind of decision making. And it hurts to feel that we should throw our absolute trust to y'all with our children. And we do for learning, we do for education. There's too many, like essential field trips only. What is an essential field trip? Are there essential field trips? What is considered essential? Going to a football game away? Is that essential? Going to space camp? It's nice. It's fun. Is it essential? So I see this word essential field trips only. Who makes the decision what's essential? What group? Do the arts group, music group, athletics group?
That's your time.
That's my time?
Yep.
Okay, that's just what I want to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Next on our list is John Belanger.
Am I allowed to take the softball talk? Is that?
It's up to you,
I'll
sir.
leave it on. But I just wanted to bring some positive news, if that's okay tonight. I know that's been something our community's been starving for. We first of all want to let the community know, the board know, the administration know, that our Equip program that we do each and every year, where we give out 175 book bags and school supplies, we have tried to be fluid with you guys and flow with you. And so we pushed back to August the 23rd. And we want you to know that we are prepared to do anything and everything that we can to prepare these students for what learning will look like this year. There are no restrictions at all on who can sign up for this event. This year we're even a lot more flexible than we have been. We've already invested into Columbia County already, because they've started back, and we've already invested some stuff into them. But I wanted all the teachers and the administrators particularly that know students that we don't know to know that we are prepared to do more this year than we've ever done, because of the concerns, and because we know there are people who have lost jobs, people who are financially more, a little bit unstable, and we are prepared to do more for the community than ever. And so we want to let you guys know that. And then the second thing is in the spring of this year, for those of you who didn't know, we prepared every facility that we had. We have 4 facilities between 6,000 and 10,000 square feet each, to be prepared for people who had to do distant learning, that didn't have internet, that didn't have computers, that didn't have all of these needed things. And we want the administrators, the staff, the board to know if anybody in your district, if anybody that you teach, you know is going to struggle if distance learning is something they have opted for, and you know it's going to be an issue. We want the community to know that we are prepared to host them and even feed them if it comes to the point where we have kids that are there that need lunch. We have a full program ready to roll as school opens up, and we did that in the spring. It did not take off like we hoped. It was utilized some, but we know that there are families who are going to struggle through this. So I just thought it would be really good to let the community know that there was some available places for their kids to be. If their parents have to work, we want them to know. Send them to us. We have staff members ready, some of which are college-educated staff members. We have retired teachers who are ready to come in to help these students, all kind of things. So we know for parents and stuff that this is a really difficult time. And I just wanted to come and just remind everybody about, supplies, anything that we can do. And administrators, teachers, board, if there are things that you need that you haven't publicly said, I just want to speak on behalf of one member of the community that oversees one organization. Please let us know, because we have already decided we're supposed to build a new building. If we have to empty out our bank account to make sure that our community makes it through this season, that's what we're going to do. And our kids are a priority. So if there are things that the school systems need that we can provide, please let us know. But that's what we're already offering. And I'm just asking for your help to get that word around, so that way for families who need it, that don't know that it's being offered, you can get that to them in ways that we can't. So thank you guys for what you do. And again, if there's anything that we can do, just please let us know. Please.
Thank you, sir. Next on our list is Ms. Hataska Glaze.
Good evening. A concern of mine, just like any other parent here, citizen, I personally have felt left out. I know that this is new, even to the point of not having anything in place for working parents, anything in place to let our children know what to expect coming up to the new year. And especially with our jobs, because if our schedules have to change, and of course, we want to be able to kind of give our kids a heads up, just like we would any other year. But this year being different, I don't feel as if we have received enough information to actually sit down with our neighbors, our children, our family, to discuss anything that's going to help us going forward. I was wondering about, because I know talking to some parents, guardians, who are not sending their kids to school, but they may not be aware of how to use Chromebooks. I was wondering, is there going to be any meetings, any type of training to help ease this process? And if so, when will we find out, so we are more at ease in reference to, again, like I said, going forward, just so we can prepare ourselves for something that is nerve-wracking? Because we know that we haven't dealt with this before, but at the same time, the information or the lack of that we've received, I think is unfair. One of my coworkers, her children go to school in Wilkes County. What I admire about the system that they have in place, that they've called their parents out. They've had 2 meetings with the parents for the in-school training, or in-school learning, as well as the virtual learning. And we're still kind of like we're flying around uncertain about a lot of things, which as a responsible mother, as a responsible parent, I just think on behalf of what we've been given is unfair to us and is completely unfair to our kids.
Thank you, Ms. Glaze. Next on our agenda is financials.
You were gonna save the other one that was on there for?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
We-
Mr.
We're
Chair,
gonna
sorry.
save it for item 8, he said.
All right. Didn't want to miss one. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, before we go to financial, before we go to financials, can we have a discussion
About financials?
on the previous discussion that was just given to us?
Ms. Freeman, we listened to the public participation. We're going with our agenda at this point.
I understand, but they brought up some good points, and now is the time, since it just happened, to address it, because I jotted down everything, and the community meeting with parents, the meeting about the Chromebook and how to use, and then Ms. Leroy brought up the point of different parenting types, and parents are feeling left out. So could
Ms.
we at
Ms.
least...
Freeman,
Let me finish.
No,
Let me
no, Ms.
finish.
Freeman, no, because we have an agenda before us, and we're gonna follow the agenda.
This was part of the agenda, Mr.
It's-
Chair.
It was
Mr.
public
Chair, I have the floor.
participation. It was public participation, and we listened, and now we're moving on to the next item on the agenda.
Quick question, are we going to address the concerns of the parents at any point?
During this meeting? No.
Ever, ever,
During this meeting, we're not.
ever? Are we ever going to address the concerns of the parents, Mr. Chair?
During this meeting, we're not.
At any point, I said ever, at any point.
I can't answer that right now. During this meeting, we're not.
But at a later meeting, are we going to be able to give them some answers? And then I'm gonna let it go.
There should be more answers, but I can't speak to what those answers will be or when it will be discussed.
Mr. Chair, we start school August 24th. I just thought these
And
were
that's,
some
I mean,
valid
that's what you're
points.
saying. You're trying to, I mean,
I'm not
What are
trying
you
to
trying to
do
say? Get it
anything,
for a
I'm just
September
trying to
meeting?
say, Mr. Chair, September meeting will be too late. Children start August 24th. So, Mr. Chair, what I'm asking are,
we had 2 meetings in July that we went through all the different things.
so you're saying what the parents' concerns are of no concern to you, Mr. Chair?
I'm saying that the school system has made a decision how we're opening. We modified that, and we made some adjustments based on parents' input, lots of parents' input. And now we're gonna move on with those plans. We can't keep asking our administration, our faculty, and our staff to change every other day. They have to be able to implement the plan that they have. And as a school board member, I'm not gonna ask them to change every other day. It's too much on them to change every day. They have to be able to know that what we voted on is what we're gonna stick by, and that they can put that into work. So for that reason, no, I'm not gonna bring that up for discussion anymore tonight. So, thank you. Ms. Buffett?
Okay, we have 1 month into the fiscal year FY '21, so for the month of July, we are at 8.33% of our fiscal year complete. You can see, it's not hard to see, but you can see with our revenues, we have about 2.37% of our taxes. You can look down and see the others, the TAVT have 11.7. Our QBE is right at 8.33 because that's, we did budget what the state is currently giving us. So our total revenues are 5.95% for the month of July. And if you look at our expenditures, total expenditures are at 7.53%. You'll see there are some expenditures that are a little bit over that 8.33. Those are due to the software and some of the dues and fees that are due at the beginning of the year. Those will level out as the year goes on. None are out any extraordinary amounts. So we are quite within what we expected for the month of July. On our balance sheet, we have about 2.9 million in the bank. And our ending fund equity at the end of July is about 2 million. You can see that this is just the summary that shows the revenues and the expenditures that are going out for this time of year. On our SPLOST collections, we had another good month with our SPLOST, 75,000. I looked back, I was just curious because if you look on here, I'm showing you the current SPLOST and then the previous SPLOST from 12 to 17. You can see there are no 70,000s in that SPLOST. The last time we went over 70,000 was January of 2012. It was 77,981.15. The highest that I could find was actually October of 2007. We had 97,356.54. So quite a bit of change in our SPLOST through the years. But as far as this year, this is looking good for our start of our year. And you can see the last 3 months, the collections have been substantially more than they were for a while. So we're hoping that trend continues. On our summary, we have about 448,496 in our SPLOST account, 354,202 in our bond account, so that gives us 802,699 for our future payments. We have a payment coming up on October the 1st. It's interest only, 401,862, and April 1st we'll have 1.14 million. So you can see we've got that October payment covered and are working on the April 1st payment that will be due. In our capital projects fund, we have made no changes with that. We haven't allocated anything out. We've got about 52,000 available for projects as needed. I have one other report. I wanted to show you the 5-year digest. This will be going in the paper at the end of July. We'll be asking you to approve this at the September 8th meeting. You remember when we did the budget, we talked about there would be no increase in taxes this year. So based on the digest, 264 million, there's actually a little bit of a rollback rate there. So that instead of the 17, our millage rate this year will be 16.929. And as a result of that, because some of this was due to growth, not just reassessment, so we do get about a 1.51% increase in taxes. It shows 66,000 there, but if you remember when we budget, we only budget 96% because we have to pay the tax commissioner's fee of 2.5%, and then you don't always collect everything. So based on the 96% and what we had in the budget, we've got about a $64,000 increase that we'll be able to amend the budget for. That will increase our revenues in taxes in the general fund. But I just wanted you to see that before I actually put that in the paper. This will go in the Lincoln Journal for an advertisement, and we'll put it on the agenda for the September meeting.
If we don't take the rollback, it's considered an increase, right?
Yes, if we leave it at the 17, we'd have to have the 3 public hearings. It would be an increase in tax.
Okay.
Mhm.
Any questions on our financials? Thank you, Ms. Butler. Next on our agenda is a purchase of a bus.
As you remember from the budget conversations that we had in regards to purchasing a bus, we weren't going to purchase a bus this year unless we got the bond money. We did receive notification that we would get the bond money this year. We do need a wheelchair bus, and Mr. Scott and I have gone back and forth with what we were going to decide, and we just waited until we got bond money. We have received the bond money. It was in the budget as us purchasing a bus because we had hoped and anticipated to get the bond money. This is a request to follow through with that. The purchase of a propane Bluebird bus that is wheelchair accessible is $109,899. And you can see the layout of that cost as you scroll down. This was budgeted for, it was anticipated, we were just waiting to make sure we got the bond money, so we did receive that.
You have a question, Ms. Freeman?
So how much is coming from us?
The bond money is,
$85,220, so it'd be $24,679 out of local.
Is this the only wheelchair accessible bus?
It's the second one.
this
We
will be
have
our second one. We try to have one in reserve, because if that one breaks down, we still have to get the children to
How
school.
old, my second question is going to be, how old is the one we have now? What year is it?
I don't know exactly, I would have to look it up. I believe it is 6 or 7 years old. So it's close to needing repair or replaced.
But you don't know how old the bus is, but you bring a proposal without all the information. But when parents want to ask, but never mind, that's neither here nor there. So tax dollars will be 24,679. Did I hear that correctly? And this bond is coming from the state,
Yes, ma'am.
but you still don't know how old the bus is. Is Mr. Scott here, Mr.
Yes.
We're
Chair?
not replacing that bus. This will be
I
a second
understand.
one.
I heard that.
Okay. Just
I'm
want
not
to make sure you
confused.
understood that.
Thank you,
we
though.
weren't.
Any other questions?
This was part of the budget.
Yes,
I
it has been
understand.
approved in the budget.
Okay.
I make a motion, we purchase the bus.
We have a motion by Mr. Madison to purchase the bus. Have a second by Ms.
Question.
Barksdale.
Question,
Yes, ma'am.
have you found the information? How exactly?
I don't have it here in front of me, I have it in my office. I don't keep that right here in Assembly.
So the bus could be 2 years old, 3
No,
years
ma'am,
old?
it's not. It's closer to 7, but I don't know the number off the top of my head, so I don't want to quote a number and be considered wrong.
Mr. Chair, it's really getting to be difficult to make decisions without all the information presented.
Well, Ms. Freeman, you had this information ahead of time. If you
Yes,
called
sir.
Dr. Light and asked for that information after you read the agenda,
I did call after I read the agenda,
And
and
you
there were
asked for
so
that
many
information?
questions. If you want to get into technicality and legality, Mr. Chair, according to Georgia's open records, open meetings law, the agenda is supposed to be prepared and on the board 7 days prior to the meeting.
No, ma'am, that's not true.
Yes, it is.
No, ma'am, it's
Well,
not.
tell Phil Hartley he lied.
Okay, I
But-
will.
But that has not been, and so we only get this agenda, you come in on Thursday, and then it's presented to us Friday, maybe Monday. The last meeting we had, the agenda was sent to me the same day. We had the meeting that Wednesday. I received the agenda that Wednesday. So
And how did you
don't
receive it?
lecture me
how did you receive the agenda?
via email. Yes. So I have documentation. So don't lecture me about the agenda or my process of getting information, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Freeman?
I have ended my discussion. Thank you.
We have a motion and we have a second. All in favor? Opposed? 5, 4.
Abstain.
You abstaining? Okay.
Oh, so it's 4.
4. Next on the agenda is a request that was made by Zay Banks. And Dr. Light's going to read a letter, and then we also have someone in the audience that's going to speak to it.
Okay. Mr. Xavier Banks is currently in the military, serving in Hawaii. He is a past graduate of Lincoln County, for those of you that don't know him. I received this letter. I want to just read it, and in accordance with our policy, it can take from 6 to 12 months to garner the level of support necessary to name a facility. But you start the process by receiving a request. You share that request with the board and the community, and then you move forward from there. The request states, Dr. Light, this is a formal request to the Superintendent of Schools and Lincoln County Board of Education for the consideration of renaming and the dedication of a facility operated and maintained by the Lincoln County School District. The recipient of such said consideration is the former Lincoln County educator and coach, Howard Ellis. The facility that is being requested would be the track and field adjacent to the Lincoln County High School. According to board policy FDC, Coach Ellis not only meets the requirements, he is someone that embodies outstanding service by working for the system for over 30 years, while also representing integrity, professionalism, and supporting the mission of the system. I am formally requesting to be added to the August 11th agenda to speak on the renaming of a facility in honor of Howard Ellis. However, I'm currently on active duty orders and stationed in the state of Hawaii. I am unable to attend the August meeting physically due to the current Department of Defense travel restrictions. I am more than willing to speak via video conference if that is allowed and possible. Respectfully submitted, Xavier Banks, sorry.
And Coach Barnett, you said you would like to speak on this matter too?
Yes, sir. Basically, in the letter that you see, it's probably been a 3-year letter in progress. We've gone through a lot of things. We went through board requirements, and we finally got to this point where we're on the agenda and we're talking about it. I was lucky to go off to college and play and come back and give, I think, this 16 years to the program and to the schools. And the major part of that was because of Coach Ellis. And I look around the room and you can see, I've heard different testimonies about Coach Ellis. Through prayer, through motivational speaking, through church. If we could do something and identify a place on this campus, a new campus, the first thing that these kids come in, they get off that bus, they see Howard Ellis Stadium. I see, if I Google search, Lincoln County Schools, I was lucky enough to coach soccer and track on that field. And there's numerous times where I say, no, you're at the old stadium. Okay, I'd love to tell them, hey, come over to Howard Ellis Stadium and play some ball. Okay, this is a great opportunity for the community to celebrate a guy that has put numerous years and has raised numerous people through this community.
Zay has, I have Zay on the line. Can you call me? I have a presentation as well. Can we call him?
We're just going to read this at this point and go through this process, and then we will share his presentation when I receive it with the board.
Tell him we can put him on a speakerphone here, but as far as the presentation, we're not going to be able to
They're not gonna be able
pull
to,
that in at this point.
they're not gonna be able to pull your presentation in at this point.
He thought he was going to send it earlier today.
Right.
Mr. Barnett,
Yes, ma'am.
can he continue since he's present?
Yeah, sure.
I got
What's
you.
this number?
But yeah,
I think
yes,
this
this
is presentation
we-
here, I just can't get it up.
No, we don't have the presentation.
Oh, it's not his
No,
presentation?
we did not receive it in time, so we can't display it.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
But I was lucky enough to be a part of the glory years of him coaching in the 90s, and also coming back and able to coach with him. And I wouldn't be here. There's numerous people on this coaching staff that wouldn't be here. There's people on this board. There's people in the back right here. I've not been turned away when asking people to help me out with ideas. If we can, I'd love to honor this man when he goes out to walk every morning to play at Chief's house.
Yeah.
It'd be a great honor for the community as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barnett. Do we want to have Zay call here?
We'll do that right now.
Okay.
We'll do that at another meeting if we need to. But I do want to share, I do want to review the presentation and then share it with the board first.
Okay. Just,
Mr. Chair.
here, try. All right, Zay, trying to talk for us.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can, but I'm right here by you, so.
Hold on, I'll call regular way, hold on.
It's a-
Well,
Okay, go ahead.
Hello? Can you hear me?
yes, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Xavier Banks. I am a product of the Lincoln County School System. For those of you that may not know, I graduated in the class of 2016 from Lincoln County High School. I have a presentation, but I'll just go through the top points. In board policy FDC is on the naming facilities, is the naming criteria, and it says facilities may be named only after an individual is no longer employed by Lincoln County School System. Coach Alice meets that requirement. He has been retired from service in the Lincoln County School System for a minimum of 2 years. He meets that and is intended to honor a retired and or deceased person, and he meets that as well. The current renamed facilities that we have in the Lincoln County School System are the Buddy Buffer Field, the Thomas Bunch Fieldhouse, Larry Campbell Stadium, and the Edwards Burgess Bus Shop, and the Whatby Basic Campus of Excellence. The three names that I said first, Buddy Buffer, Thomas Bunch, and Larry Campbell, they are elite coaches in the Lincoln County School System history and in their past, and they all have something in common. They have in common that they all have a state championship team under their belt. There's one person that also falls under that criteria, which is none other than Coach Howard Ellis. You may know Coach Howard Ellis from either being one of your instructors, your teacher, your children may have been under his leadership, or you just seen him in the community around, or he may have worked in the system with you at the time of your participation as well. One of the excerpts from FDC board policy, it says, one that represents integrity, professionalism, and support of the mission of the system. Coach Ellis was employed from Lincoln County School System for 30 plus years, from 1981 to 2010, and from 2014 to 2017. He was a weight training, health, and physical education instructor. That point is very important because in order to receive a graduate diploma from Lincoln County High School, you have to have at least 1 credit of physical education on your transcript. So with that being said, each student from the years of 1981 to 2010 had to encounter Coach Ellis at some point in their high school career. He coached basketball, football, golf, along with track and field, and he was a Fellowship of Christian Athletes advisor, and he was an Outstanding Educator Award recipient in 2018 from the Lincoln Wilkes Retired Educators Association. The other bulletin I would like to point out is someone who has demonstrated exceptional performance, extraordinary service, and loyalty to the district shall be considered. He was the first, not only was he the first, he is the only head coach to win a state championship in track and field for Lincoln County High School. Not individually this, but this is the entire event. In 1985, he was the only one to do this, and then again in 1986, he won state runner-up to that team as well. He was the assistant head coach for 9 state championships in football under the honorary legend Coach Larry Campbell. He was the head coach for numerous region championships in basketball and in golf, and he was awarded the Coach of the Year for track and the Assistant Coach of the Year for football as well. I have on my presentation, whenever you guys will see it, you will see that it's an excerpt from the Lincoln Journal, and on the Lincoln Journal it has the title, Coach Howard Ellis Encourages Love at the Fields of Faith. And on the other one you have the 1984 track team. It's an excerpt from the 1984-1985 yearbook, and it says, Coach Howard Ellis led the boys track team to the very first state championship in LCHS history. Let's go Big Red. The reason that these points are so crucial to my point is because if we want to rename the track and field after Coach Ellis, then you want to know why. The reason we say the track and field because he won a state championship, the only one currently to win a state championship in track and field at the time when Lincoln County School System didn't even have a track. Not only that, the field represents something larger than just the coaching that he did. He was an inspiration, and as an inspiration, he worked for the Fields of Faith. Fields of Faith is a sponsored event that you have by the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and at Fields of Faith that encourages students to come out and learn about their religion and try to be together. That field will represent the Fields of Faith where we can host that again since we haven't hosted it since 2016. And that track is a representation of him being the first and the only coach to win a state championship in track and have 9 out of the 13 state championships in football. He was an assistant coach for that. And that's why I think that the Howard Ellis Track and Field should be the new name of our track and field now. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr.
according to this policy, I would offer a motion that we accept the presentation. The request has been made to, according to the policy, every item has been sufficed. So I make a motion that we accept the request to name the track and field over at the new high school. I think it's right over there from us. The Howard Ellis Chief Field.
Howard Ellis Track and Field.
Say it again.
Howard Ellis Track and Field.
Howard Ellis Track and Field.
Okay. We have a motion. Used, and like you said, and just like Zay pointed out, Coach Ellis does meet the requirements of it. We've also, when this facilities policy was created, it was designed so that just not the 5 members of this board made a decision. It was so that things could be put out for community input. So you made a motion, and so we will act on that motion if it gets a second. But the intent was so that things could
According
sit and it could.
I understand, but according to your policy, it says number 6.
And
Any
like I said,
restrictions
you can make it.
herein set forth may be waived by a unanimous vote of the board. So those will be waived, and you waive the right for the parents to get stuff for their kids. So this is just a field, a piece of grass with some dirt. It ain't human. It ain't gonna die from corona. So my motion stands.
Okay.
And I'd also like to say that Mr. Banks gave his presentation, but also did another alumni, who is Mr. Barnett. So it was a tag team. Thank you both.
Okay. Do we have a second?
A second on motion.
Okay. All right. Do we have any discussion among the board members?
Does this policy say 6 to 12 months?
It
Read
does,
the
sir.
policy.
The bottom of page 1, sir.
Yes.
Like I said, I was here for 2 of the other namings. And there was no policy when those 2 were done. And the community that, they asked about different aspects of it. And so it was, when this policy was created, it was done so that it would be presented and we as board members would hear, because this is gonna last for, it's gonna be there. And so that was what the design was for. I'm not opposed to the field being named after Coach Ellis. As Coach Barnett talked about, he was, now as far as this track, I didn't see him at this track, but I saw him at that other gym, in that weight room, in that locker room, on that field all the time. There's quite a few memories with Coach Ellis. And mine goes back not just high school, mine go to middle school when I had him first. But we have a motion, we have a second.
I'd like to address in here, when y'all made the policy, it states any restrictions herein set forth may be waived. It's number 6 on the back of the sheet. It's number 6.
Well, I was looking at front where it says expect to process.
Yeah, but
to
you
take
waived
6 to
that.
12
Number
months.
6 waives that, sir, with the unanimous
with the-
vote.
With the unanimous vote, you're right. And it can be voted on,
Yes, sir.
and it will be voted on here.
Okay.
But like I said, I'm really not opposed to something being named after Coach Ellis. I won't be voting for it tonight. I won't be voting in favor of it tonight. That's all I'm saying. So,
Question.
yes.
Who will be in charge of this and what the sign looks like and all
Well-
this? Will we get a presentation?
That's all part of it, and that
Okay.
was, I mean,
Okay.
and Zay was supposed to, I mean, he called me about this about a month ago, and he was, and we thought he was gonna be sending the presentation, and apparently he just didn't get around to getting it to us today. So, yes, we have a presentation. I mean, he put together a presentation. I was told he has what the signage looks like and everything for it, which is part of it, so.
Mr. Chair, when we put the sign down at the, somebody help me, at the softball field for the young man who was killed, you remember that?
Before this policy was created,
And his name was,
I don't know his name.
we as a board got different designs, and it was approved, and it was put there. I don't understand why we just can't go ahead and do this. Everything else can be done after this, Mr. Chair.
You're right, it can.
But you
I
guys put
told
this
you
codicil in here, Mr. Chair, I
I just
have the
told you what
floor.
how I'm gonna
I
vote.
understand, but I got the floor. You guys, when you made the policy, you put the restrictions in, but in number 6, you said any restrictions herein set forth may be waived by unanimous vote of the board. Now, I don't understand why it's so difficult to waive the restrictions for such an awesome human being who's a retired educator, but more than that, became a part of this community, blood, sweat, tears, etc., and who is probably more loved than the man's name that bears the stadium on the other side of town, because he was ingrained in the fabric of these students' lives, not just on a football field or a track field. It's like Mr. Banks said, but also in the classroom, teaching physical education, not just there, but in the community, assisting wherever he could, being a mentor, being a big brother, being a daddy figure, whatever it took.
I know Coach Ellis very well.
Mr. Chair, please, just let me get my thought out, and I'll be finished. The more you interrupt me, the longer it'll take. I don't want it to take long. So why can't we just get this done, and then the details will come from Mr. Banks, Mr. Barnett, and the group. I understand it's a group effort. They will supply the information, and we can act on that accordingly. But they've been trying to bring this to us for 3 years. So this is a good thing. It's not a terrible thing.
No.
And as Mr. Banks named out, every field we have named for someone is not, and I'm going to bring this up, is not African American. And in these days and times, all of our children, but I'm going to speak about our black children, they need a pick-me-up. This may be a pick-me-up mentally, emotionally, socially, to help heal some of the scars that they're going through from everything that has happened in this country for the last 4 years. So why deny a community an opportunity to come together and heal on the heels of someone who is as great as Howard Ellis? That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
And I think that's warranted in this situation. If you care about our students, all of them. And he's not just loved by black people. That's not what I'm saying. He's loved by everybody. Because I don't think Ken's, right? But you love him, right? Yeah. So I don't see this as a hard decision, but I'll be governed by the decision of this board.
Chair. Yes.
I'm not opposed to it all, but I'd like to get some information or input from the faculty and staff before I move forward with it, so.
Okay.
What
And
faculty and
for the
staff gotta
record,
do? I got a
The,
question.
Ms. Freeman,
I got a question for my fellow
well,
board.
I'm talking right now.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It was said that 3 years was bringing, it hasn't been brought to this board for 3 years. For some of you are questioning that. This is the first time it's been brought to the board
Right.
for a decision and for a vote. And like I said, you talked about different things. I'm not gonna vote tonight, not having everything. And like I said, I'm not gonna vote for if it was a black coach, if it was a white coach. I was around Coach Ellis. I would say, other than Ken, everybody in this room, I've been around Coach Ellis more than anybody. Like I said, he taught me in middle school all the way through high school. He was with me all of them. And so I know him as well as any. But I'm not, the policy was put in place for a purpose, and I want that to take effect.
Miss,
I got a question, just because I'm hearing that everybody don't have everything that they need. So if we table this for a later discussion so that you can have what you need to make a logical decision, because if we don't have enough of support, then it's not gonna
that's
happen
what I was
anyway.
gonna ask you. You don't need anything else, because technically, whatever they give to us, whether it's a design, it's still up to the board to do whatever. So that's neither here nor there. It's just a formality to lengthen this out and to give them time. But I would like to, for the sake of Howard Ellis, and please accept this, but I don't want his feelings hurt or any student or former student dissuade from your effort. So I would like to withdraw my motion if, since you second it, we have to be in agreement. Is that an agreement?
You withdrawing your motion to table this to
I'm
have a decision
withdrawing my
for
motion,
later?
To
period.
vote on it tonight.
To vote on it tonight?
I'm withdrawing the motion.
To vote on it
But
tonight?
I'm withdrawing my motion, period. It's not about tonight, I have to withdraw the motion. So you second it, so will you agree to the withdrawal of the motion?
I will.
Mr. Chair, I withdraw my motion.
We will have Mr. Banks' presentation, and we'll be able to put it back on the agenda for next month. Any other discussion for this? Thank you. Next on the agenda is policies for review.
Following policies have been reviewed, and we are recommending that they remain as written. JBCAA, private school students. JCDAD, bus conduct. JCDAE, weapons. JCDAG, bullying. JCE, complaints and grievances. JGCD, medicines. JGG, student transportation management. JGI, child abuse. And JGJA, suicide prevention. All are up for review and remain as written.
You had a question for me? Okay. All right, next on the agenda is superintendent's reports.
I had 3 items tonight that I think are extremely important to the district as well as to the entire community. As I think everybody is aware, Cognia has taken over for Advanced Ed, who took over for Southern Association of Colleges and Schools. Cognia is how we are accredited. Cognia, as they took over, gave every district the opportunity to review their current rules, review their current changes, accept them and move forward, or push your evaluation back and let them reevaluate everything and come up with new rules. We agreed as a leadership team to push that back. We have received approval as being accredited district. The certificate is actually out there on the table so that everybody can see it. But our next review will come up in the 2023-2024 school year, and we'll incorporate their new standards and new protocol. But we are currently accredited through 2023-2024. I wanted everybody to be aware of that. The next item on the superintendent's list, as all of us are aware, back on June 6th and 7th is normally the school board event down in Savannah. On the 7th, they do the delegate assembly. The legislative positions to be adopted are done there and voted on. This board went through the process of identifying what their position was. However, Mr. Madsen didn't get to go because it got canceled due to COVID. If this board would like to review this and or present a new position, the board has that opportunity. They are talking about changing the date and moving it into October is the last rumor that I have heard, but they sent this out to garner new positions if the board is interested. I did not want to leave this off of the table so you could be thinking about it if you have an idea. The next item down I got today about 2 o'clock. It was made public about 4 o'clock. I had actually applied for a grant for our district through the Georgia Foundation for Public Education, and this is the Rural Education Fund grant. I had applied for that grant and we received the grant for a total of $5,000, which is the maximum amount you can receive that for. We will use that $5,000 as the grant was written to upgrade our oldest Chromebooks. And we'll continue to chip away at that and try and keep them as up to date as possible. But I wanted the board to know, in case you read it or hear it on the news, we did receive a $5,000 grant that was completed and applied for.
Okay, thank you, sir. Need a motion to go into executive session?
Motion that we go into executive session.
A motion by Ms. Marcel, second by Mr. Massey.
Mr. Chair, clarification, why are we going in executive session?
It's on our agenda. We need to
Yeah,
find
but
out
it
when we
doesn't
get in
say
there.
what,
We'll find out when we get in there.
For personnel.
it has to state. Is it for personnel?
Personnel.
Thank you.
We want to call our meeting back to order. The superintendent has recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Mr. Henry Madden as a 49% Algebra 2 teacher for the Lincoln County High School for the 2021 school year. We have a second by Ms. Barksdale. All in favor? Opposed?
Abstain.
The superintendent is recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Miss Elizabeth Barnett as a substitute teacher for the 2021 school year. We have a second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Unanimous. Need a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We have a second by Ms. Barksdale. Have a good evening.